Welcome to Sense of Style. I'm Stuart. 6 Holy Grail fragrances. These are fragrances that I wanted for a long, long time, but for a variety of reasons, I had to wait. Sometimes months, and sometimes years. Fragrance number 1, this is Jean-Paul Gaultier's Beau Paradise Garden. And when it first came out, I had no interest in getting it because I already owned Jean-Paul Gaultier's Beau, and I just bought this a year before. You see, I grew up in the Caribbean, and then when I was 8, I moved to Canada. So I was one of those weird Canadian kids that always had coconut cake for my birthday, because I do like the sweet coconut vibe. Now, this fragrance did have a problem, and it appeared that, Beau Paradise Garden was going to fix it. And then the reviews came in, and then it looked really, really good, and I thought, okay, yeah, I got to get it. The problem is, though, I pull a lot of fragrances, the new ones, and this does not do well with the people that watch my channel. And so I have to balance my fragrance choices between my own personal likes and what the viewers like. And so I kept putting it off, and then 2 weeks ago I said, screw it. And then I bought this, and man, it really does live up to the hype. It is a fantastic fragrance. It's exactly what you would expect this to be, because this fragrance is great, but there's a lot of vanilla in it, and it's too sweet to wear in the summer where you would expect to wear a tropical fragrance. They take care of it beautifully with this 2 ways. They add green notes, which gives it some more freshness. They also add watery notes, I'm assuming somehow to dilute the strength of the sweetness. They also use tonka instead of vanilla, and it is a much more subtle Beau experience. And they really pulled it off. I don't get fig from this, but I do get mint. I get a little bit of that mintiness. The longevity is very, very good. The projection, as you might expect, given the fact that it is a lighter version, is good, but it's not exceptional. And I don't care. I got my coconut fix, and I'm happy. Fragrance number 2 is Dunhill Icon. What an aptly named fragrance for FragCom, because this really is an icon. 5 years ago, when I got into the fragrance community, this was being talked about constantly. I didn't have a lot of interest in it because it's a fresh fragrance. That's not my bag. But after 2 years of hearing just endless positive things about an inexpensive fragrance, I broke down. I'm like, okay, I want to get it. And then for some strange reason, when I did try to get it, it was difficult to get at that particular time. I saw it the other day. I grabbed it, and man, it really does live up to expectations. It is a neroli and bergamot fragrance with some black pepper, so very fresh. I kind of get my view of it is like a green grapefruit type of thing, and I really like the note of grapefruit. But the thing about this, the scent is really nice, but the thing about this is for a $40 fresh fragrance, the performance is incredible. Not just longevity, but projection as well. I can see why this is an icon. I'm really glad I have it now because I always struggle with options for in the warmer weather. This one will be a good one. Fragrance number 3, this is Chanel Allure Homme Sport Eau Extreme, and man, did I want this fragrance. Back in 2019, this thing was super hyped. It's 7 years old, but that didn't matter. It was one of the top 2 or 3 most hyped fragrances then. I didn't have a Chanel fragrance. I wanted to have a Chanel fragrance. This is the first one I got. I looked for it online. I couldn't find it. I didn't know about the whole Chanel thing back then. I had to pay full retail for it. First fragrance I ever paid full retail for. It was really expensive. I did get a little bag with it, though. But, yeah, despite all of that, I had to wait a whole year, and it was worth it because this is a really high-quality fragrance. It is a masterclass in subtlety. You get the subtle tonka bean, that sweetness added to the Allure Homme Sport line. You get a little bit of mandarin citrus freshness. You get a little bit of minty citrus freshness with a base of musk. Just a really, really lovely fragrance. And even though it's super expensive, and even though the performance, for me anyway, is not great, I only get about 4 hours. I do know that there are some other YouTubers, some prominent ones that get more than that. So, that might just be me, but I don't care. If a fragrance is good enough, I'm okay with the performance not being completely up to date. I mean, it is 4 hours. It's enough for me. Fragrance number 4 is a potential cautionary tale. This is Dolce & Gabbana The One Gentleman. Now, I had Dolce & Gabbana The One, and the bottles are really lovely. Like, they're heavy, they're durable, they're really, really nice. It feels classy. And then I saw this with the blue juice, and I'm like, oh man, I need to get that. And I wanted to get it, even though I'd never smelled the fragrance. And I know people do that. I've done that with other fragrances. I didn't do it with this one, thank God. I got a decant first. This is my decant. And as it turned out, the fragrance was also really good. And so I took the plunge and I got this. But yeah, if you're into fragrances, yeah, buying a fragrance for a bottle, that can happen. And this is so expensive a hobby. Just be careful. Anyway, I fluked out. I got it. The actual fragrance itself is really good. In fact, it is exactly the kind of thing that I would do for a modern, gentlemanly fragrance. This has a lot of vanilla, which is absolute requirement to be modern. It also has a nice spicy balance. It has cardamom and black pepper. So it is balanced. It's sweet and spicy. But then the gentleman aspect, the more mature aspect of this fragrance is finished off lovely with a lavender. So you get that lavender, more of a traditional, more mature note to go with it. It's just fantastic. But again, like Allure, I'm Sport Eau Extreme. Love the fragrance. The price is better for this one, but the performance, again, it's about 4 hours, so I could do with a little bit more performance. But if the fragrance is good enough, it's not a big deal, and this one was good enough. Fragrance number 5, this is Hugo Boss Bottled Intense Eau de Parfum. And if you're relatively new to fragrance collecting, you could probably relate to this. So I'm watching, at the time, a lot of fragrance YouTube. And I'm like, chomping at the bit. I really like to try this and try that. And I think this was one of my first or second hauls. And when you're making a haul for the first time, you're making a big commitment because you're buying a lot, right? You don't think of yourself as a collector. And so you're making a big leap. And so that was kind of a scary thing. But I think I bought 4 fragrances when I bought this. I can't remember the other ones. I do remember thinking, oh yeah, this one was my favorite. But yes, this is another case of things being hyped and then, you buy it and it comes through. Now, Holy Grails don't always work out. This one did. I still don't understand this fragrance really. It was like a $40 fragrance back then. And yet I get 12 hours, with a DNA that, the regular Boss bottle is like 3 hours. I'm not kidding. I actually timed it. I get 12 hours with this, and you get a deeper, richer Boss bottled experience. You get that vanilla, cinnamon, and apple combination. And just like with Boss bottled, though, it's kind of like you smell apple pie. This feels more like you're actually eating it. Like it's a much fuller, more immersive experience when you get something like this. This is probably the best fall fragrance that I own. And finally, we have Pacific Rock Moss by Goldfield and Banks, and I bought this for one reason only. I grew up partially in Sydney, Australia, and for 3.5 years I lived there. And this is a niche house from Australia. At the time when I bought it, it was the most hyped. I held off and probably like 1.5 years because it's so expensive. And then, at some point you break down, you're like, okay, I really need to get this. And thankfully, for me, this totally lives up for expectations. It's weird because you think Pacific Rock Moss, right? You think it's going to be super aromatic. Hey, it is aromatic. There's moss and sage. But for me, this is it's the other 2 notes. It's the lemon and the geranium, the freshness of that really make it a blue fragrance. So it's a citrus aromatic, but I really get a lot of citrus freshness to it. And normally, sometimes with an aromatic fragrance, you can get a little bit of a dirty feel. I don't get that here. It's just very clean, very fresh. And again, though, the performance issue thing. Now, this was niche, so it's very expensive. And the performance is more like 4 to 5 hours, so it's not what you would expect. But again, sometimes fragrances are good enough where you don't worry about that. And what I like about this is I struggle with fresh fragrances with coming up for ideas for things to wear in the summer, and this solves that. So yeah, anyway, Holy Grails, getting them in and having them work out, it's one of the best things you can do in FragCom. And some great, it sounds kind of weird, but some great memories buying some of these, really, for real. Thanks for watching.